Hey, happy Monday! Tonight we are back working on the Splendid Sampler 2. Alright, you guys, so thank you for joining me here. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make cute embroidery kits for the beginning crafter. And I'm here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time, and it's a time that we can relax and craft together. So I'm here for about an hour, and I work on projects from beginning to end so you can be part of the whole process along the way. Tonight, again, we are back at it with the Splendid Sampler 2 quilt along. We're just over halfway through the blocks. There's 100 blocks total. They are all completely different. They're all end up being 6.5 inches before we sew it into the quilt, but they're all different techniques. I'll show you kind of where I'm at with it, and we'll start a new block. So we are going to be working on a foundation paper piece block tonight. That's something that we've been talking about for the past few days. I thought we could do a foundation paper pieced one this week, and then maybe next time we'll do an English paper pieced one. I think I have a few of those in here yet. And then we can kind of look at the differences between them. So thanks for joining me again. Here we go. All right, hello everyone. Thanks for being here live with me tonight. Okay, so we are back at the Splendid Sampler 2. Let me show you the block that we're working on. Here's my list. First of all, I'm going like from top to bottom now. We jumped around at first. All these ones that are crossed off, all the ones that are highlighted or crossed off are done. So all these ones that are nothing so far, we still need to do. So there's quite a few yet. The next one on the list is Country Star on page 116, and that happens to be a foundation paper pieced one, which works great because we've been talking about that process lately. So this is the block right here. It's by Mahoney, and it's quite complicated looking, right? So it's definitely one that foundation paper piecing is going to make much easier to get all of these intricate things, because all of this is just in like that 6.5 inch block, which is about this big, right? So that's a lot to fit in a block. So just to start out, I'll show you what I have prepped here, and then I'll show you where I am with the quilt so far. It's foundation paper piecing, and it's actually several segments sewn together. And so the first part in the instruction is make 4 copies each of the foundation paper piece. So this is the pattern that comes with the book, and this is a pattern number 3, pattern page 3, and oh, there we go. So Country Star is right here, from page 116. So these 3 pieces, we need 4 photocopies of each of those. You could trace them if you don't have a photocopier. That would work just fine too. If you are going to trace, be as accurate as you can with the lines, like use a ruler and then make sure to label them all. Like, they have letters and numbers on them. So like this one has B1, B2, B3, B4. Make sure to put those on the page if you do end up tracing it. So I've gone ahead and I've made 4 photocopies of that, and we will deal with this today. But we'll be picking fabrics today and prepping these pieces. This is my bin of fabrics from this project yet. I'm doing it all kind of neutrals. All of my fabrics are like these weird, crazy, tiny pieces because we've been working on this for a while. So I don't have any beautiful, nice, clean pieces of fabric. Here's the bin that I'm keeping everything in. We have 3 blocks here, and I need a 4th one to go to our next step, which is quilting. We are doing the quilt as you go process, which means exactly what it sounds like. We are quilting it as we go. Let's see. Oh, these are all put together already. So what I'm doing is I'm making 4 blocks, right? And then I'm sewing them together with sashing. But then we're actually sandwiching those with the batting and the backing, and I am going ahead and quilting just a piece this big. And then later, we are connecting them with another little piece of sashing. So you can see that this is the sashing that connects this set of 4 with this set of 4. And then on the back, you can see it's almost like a binding piece that we hand stitch down after. So that's kind of what's holding these all together. But they're actually being quilted in these sets of 4, and then we're putting them together as bigger pieces. So this is, we got a row of like 3 sets of 4. So this was a grouping we did. This was a grouping we stitched together, and then this was a grouping. So we have 3 groupings here. I always think it's really fun looking at the back, because we're doing just different stuff on all these, just playing around, trying new things. This is a great way to practice and experiment this quilt as you go process. So we're about halfway done with this. So this is a row, this one had 3 in, and I have 2 more, and they have 5 groupings in, and that's the size I'm making them. So 5 groupings would be 10 blocks, 10 small blocks across. So it'll be 10 blocks across and 10 blocks down, ultimately, to get our 100 blocks. So we actually have half the quilt done already, right? So this is done, it's quilted, right? So even though we're only halfway through making the blocks, we are, ahead in the process in other parts. Like, I'm not going to have to put together a huge quilt later, because it's all kind of done already because of this quilt as you go process, which has been fun. This is my first time doing quilt as you go. So it's been a kind of a really great experience. I can definitely see doing more of this process, because you just have this much on your sewing machine at once, so it's easy to move around, free motion quilt, because you don't have to push a whole giant quilt through your small little sewing machine. So this is a great at-home kind of process here. It's just really fun seeing all the shapes, I think. So anyway, we have 2 kind of full rows of this. There'll be 5 of these total. So we got 2 completely done. So we'll need 1 long piece of sashing to connect this row to the row underneath it. So we haven't dealt with that yet. And this one has 3, like I said. So that's a hair over halfway, right? But to make any more of these, I have to have at least 4 blocks. So we are not there yet. These are our latest finishes as far as blocks go. And that is the update on this quilt, yet another unfinished project that we're going to be working on. So Lisa's asking what machine I use to quilt this. I'm just using the machine that's sitting behind me. It's a 1974, I believe it's 74, Kenmore sewing machine. And we'll definitely do more free motion quilting with it. So I'm not doing it on this one, because I can't lower the feed dogs on this one. You don't want, the feed dogs are those like teeth that pull the fabric along. We don't want that for free motion quilting. We want it just free flowing, so I can move it around. We don't want it being grabbed at. So I actually use my other machine that I can't actually get the feed dogs to stay up, which is great. I need them to stay down for free motion quilting. So I actually switched the machines, this guy with the one that's just sitting behind me. But still a vintage machine. I'm not using anything fancy. I do have a couple different types of darning foots, but any darning foot will work. And we'll go over all that too once like I said, I need at least 4 blocks here. All right, so let's, like 4 blocks to sew the next grouping together, and those groupings are what I free motion quilt. Okay, you guys, so let's get back to this one. So there is some setup before we start sewing these guys. Some setup that I like doing, that I find helpful for myself. And that is, first of all, we got to cut these all out. I'm going to actually color them in with colored pencil. We need to pick their fabric too. So we'll pick fabric kind of based on what they have going on here. But then what I like doing is color coding all the little pieces, because you can see each one of these little things is a different puzzle piece of this block, right? So you start moving these around and shifting them and piling them up, and it can be just a pile of confusing. So the thing that I find really, really, really helpful is once I pick fabric, I either make another copy of this and make like a little fabric code, or I will, I got my colored pencils here, you can use crayons or whatever, but I like picking a color that's similar to whatever fabric I have and then literally coloring in each one of these. It might seem like overkill, but I find it so helpful. And it can just be kind of scribbled in so you know, just so you know you have that visual of which fabric goes with what piece. It really helps not having to think later. Okay, so we'll set that aside for the moment, and this aside for the moment. Let's pick some fabrics. So I think, why don't we get a bit lower here, and I will grab a bunch of fabrics out of the bin. So one thing that I've been doing, one of my rules, I always like having rules when I work on a project, and one of my rules for the Splendid Sampler is a white background, or white heavy. If there's an implied background, I want it to be white, and if it's kind of like this where there's, I suppose this is kind of a background, but if it's all over the place like this one, then I'll just choose what the background is, or choose what white would be. But there's white in every single one of my blocks because I want kind of a light colored quilt, because I haven't really made a light colored quilt, so that's the other challenge. Can I make myself a light colored quilt? So that is the next part of my rules for this quilt. Is I'm using just what I had for scraps for pale tan, some pale yellows, just kind of whatever was pale. I've been using those, and every once in a while I'll throw in a bright color, but I think for this we'll try and stick with the pales. We have tons of scraps. These are getting smaller and smaller, all these pieces, so we'll see kind of how this goes. This might be an opportunity to use some of our scraps, so we'll kind of see about that. I got probably kind of clean these up at some point, but we got a whole pile of scraps from this project. I've just kind of been saving everything, so we might pull some of those out. But all right, let's take a look at this. There are okay, yellow print, red print, navy, blue, cream, green, and then cream again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Shoo! So there's 6 different colors in here. Let's just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, I got 7. So there's 2 different cream prints. So, woo, that's a lot of fabric stuck in a block about that big, right? So I know I have white. So to me, these 2 colors seem really close. They are a different pattern. I'm just using this as a guide. I think that'll be helpful. They are different patterns, but generally look the same. So I do have this white here. I do have a cream that was really, really close in color here. So a white and a cream. Maybe we just go with that and call it our background. These are my lightest 2 colors, so I think anything else that we put with it, even though we're not ever going to be as dark as any of these, because I have just these pale pieces here, anything's going to look, darker compared to these 2. So, all right, let's just pick. Okay, so right now, let's have this be my most outer piece. Then it'll kind of be like a background. So this will be there. I'm just kind of placing them so I can kind of think it through. All right, and then the cream will be these 2 pieces. Okay, what about, let's just kind of go with what we got here. So I do have a lot of this fabric left, so it'd probably be good to use that, and I do have a lot of this. So we can fussy cut with foundation paper piecing, relatively easy, but I don't know, maybe we'll save that guide for later. So here's some that's a pretty yellow. Just kind of digging through some pieces here. This might be a fun piece to use. So this seems rather bright compared to all of these, so maybe this is one of like our more bold colors here. We got another kind of bold. I have a few batiks in my collection here, and batiks is a different printing process than your normal quilting weight fabric. And in the process, the back and the front is like exactly the same. You can't really tell what the front and back are. That could be difficult with foundation paper piecing. With foundation paper piecing, you always want to know what the front and the back is. So I might just shy away from the batiks for this particular block, and I think that means like these two I'll set aside. They're really painterly and everything. Batiks, they're beautiful. I stole these from my mom. Borrowed with permission from my mom, these batiks. But I think we'll stay away from them for this particular piece. All right, so I have an idea. What if we were like cream and we got more yellow as we went inside? So that would be kind of neat. So let's say that maybe this is, there's not a ton of fabric here, but I think we'll be fine. Maybe this is our navy. Okay, so maybe this is our big triangle navy. I'm going to just fold it in a triangle. And then what if this other yellow was this other blue? So this other kind of small triangle here. That'd be kind of pretty. And then I still need, so that's kind of some main stuff. I need a red, so that could be more tan. That could be nice and contrasty. Just testing colors here. You know what? I think, why don't we do, this can be our red, so that will be here, and then we need these pieces. Why don't we do this, because it'll be like a nice kind of squiggle in this kind of larger space, and then we need like a couple little dudes peeking out here. I have a couple little pieces of this star fabric. Actually, I got quite a bit here. But we could have this star fabric be right these outside points. I know this is looking kind of way confusing, but it would be, I mean, I am dealing with like these super neutral colors, so it's a little bit more difficult than me just going like, okay, I need a green, a blue, and a red, you know? I don't have those options in the palette I'm using. So the animal print would be cute as the green print. The animal print, you mean like this guy here? You know, we could really kind of fussy cut little guys out of there, but I think these guys are a little bit too big for how big those corner pieces are. I don't know, I kind of like these stars. Stars are kind of graphic. They have their own little, you know, your eye goes right to them just because we're so familiar with them. So I think that might be kind of fun for the outer bits. All right, you know what? I think we just kind of go with it and see what happens. I do think because we have these kind of way more yellow pieces here, those are basically the blues, I think those will jump out against these more tan and cream pieces. At least that's the goal. So we'll just see what happens. I'm doing a neutral quilt. My blocks are going to be way more neutral than are in here. So before I move this, since this is kind of in my brain placed where the different things are so I know what's what, before I shuffle these away, I want to start making my code. So I got to find my little papers. Here we go. So here's one of my papers here. So I got to first kind of figure out what goes with what. So maybe I do need to actually move these over to see the rest of the pattern here. Okay, so the B piece is, okay, the B to C piece is here, and then the A piece is here. Okay, so I'm just literally looking at the diagram here. There's a little wedge out of here that says A, and those are the navy chunks. So let's just start there. So here's A. Okay, so to read a foundation paper piece, you'll notice that each kind of grouping, like these are separated already, these groupings. You'll see that they each have a letter on. So this grouping all has the letter C, this grouping has the letter B, and this grouping has the letter A. So this is how all foundation paper piecing projects will look. They will have some sort of line work with each piece labeled. It'll have a letter, and then it'll have a number after it. Right now, we just need to know what the letters are. Sometimes a foundation paper piecing project won't have any seam allowance like this, and it might be jumbled together like this, like your A's might be actually attached and right next to your B's. So you will actually have to search out all the A's to separate them from the B's. In this case, for the Splendid Sampler 2, they've separated them for us, but just if you're looking at some other pattern. So anyway, the A piece right here, that is, we've determined that's our kind of piece right here. I'm going to kind of rotate it in the same direction because that'll help me out. Okay, let's get some colored pencils out. So this is that navy. So this is kind of like a bright orange, and it has little flowers on it. So I'm going to grab, this one's popping out at me right away here, this colored pencil. I'm going to just kind of color this in. But I do have, a color similar to that as well. So I'm going to just give myself a reminder of this pattern. I'm going to just do a little squiggly flowers on it. So there, I just kind of colored it in yellow and then added some squiggle flowers. I think that will be enough of a reminder for me that it's the yellow with the little floral on. So I will actually color this on all of my other sheets as well, but I'm just going through it once so I can kind of get rid of all the rest of this stuff. But yeah, so I'm literally just color coding it. So this is the only time, if we're just isolating one of our A pieces, that's the only time we use this color, this fabric. So all right, the next one, what are these two red pieces? Okay, red pieces were, it was this circle up here because it's right here and it's right here. So, okay, we got this kind of tan color. You know what? I got this kind of, and they don't have to be the exact thing. It just has to be so you remember them. So let's pick this kind of gray. So I'm going to use this gray for this. And you could actually make a little code for yourself. You could put a key. You could snip a little piece of this off and tape it to this if you want. All right, so I'm going to just, okay, it's the red. So I'm going to color in here and here. And I'm going to put big circles on this just as a reminder that big circles, it's the big circle fabric. So there we go. Kind of suggesting that there's circles. But there's also red somewhere else, so right here. So let's find that piece right away. So that looks like it's the B piece. So there's a B and C piece together here, according to this. So the B piece is this triangle, and the C piece is this triangle. So the B piece, it's just right that tip there. So okay, so here's our B piece, and it looks like it's this B2 tip. So let's color that in as well. And I'm going to add my little circles so I remember what fabric it is. Okay, and so that's that. That's the red. Let's finish up this last A piece. Oh yeah, they're like sand dollars. This one. All right. I mean, but you can kind of see already why this is going to be so important, because, I mean, I could easily confuse this corner triangle for this corner triangle for, like, this corner triangle. I mean, and I'm going to cut these apart, so they're going to flop all over the place, plus I'm going to have 4 sets of them, so I'm going to just have triangles everywhere. So if I don't color them in, I'm going to be so confused. So this really, really allows me to use my brain less later. So this is valuable. It does take some time now, but it will be valuable later. Okay, so the last part of A, and it's not in any of those other pieces, is this kind of brown squiggle thing. So I'm going to just kind of, this is a copper, but you know, it was brownish. I'm going to just squiggle it up here. Squiggle, 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 squiggle. All right. I should remember that that's what that is, hopefully. I'm the only one that needs to know what they mean, so as long as I remember next time we work on this project, then I'll be fine. All right, let's move on and do these other pieces. Okay, so the B piece, this one is that other blue, so that's here. I'm going to get another yellow, and now this is more of a solid, so I'm just going to fill this in just like that, and I'm not going to draw anything else on it like I did, you know. Now I know the difference between these two. This one's solid, this is the one with the flowers on, so that should make me remember that. Okay, and then these two, okay, I gotta look at my piece again here because it does get confusing. Okay, so that's these 2 pieces here. So that's my cream. All right, so I'm gonna just pick like a pale bit right here. Okay, this piece and this piece. Okay, so again, I'm just gonna fill it in with a solid. I'll know that's different than the white because the white I will just leave the paper color. Okay, so there are, that's my very light cream here. Okay, and then we have this C piece. So the C is this right here. All right, so we have the white, so that's this and this, so I'll leave that. And then the green is our stars. So I think I'll just use the same color here. This kind of brown tan. And we'll just draw some stars on there. Okay, and that is basically our color code. So now I should be okay with just kind of moving these, getting them out of my way, because I have my representation of what they are here. I'm going to go ahead and, first of all, let's remove all this other fabric. I'm just going to toss it back in my bin because I don't want to get confused with the fabric I'm using and the fabric I'm not using. We might dig into there a little bit later because we do have scraps of a lot of these fabrics, so I might kind of err on the side of using scraps of these, but we'll see how that goes. Oh, Barbara says I missed choosing the fabric. Well, we just chose it, and I just kind of chose pretty quick. There are 7 different fabrics in this, so I didn't want to like get too confuse myself too much. So I just kind of made a go at it. Basically, anything that is this blue, we kind of went yellowish, and then everything else was kind of a tan. All right, you guys, I have to actually repeat this for all of these other ones. You know, I don't actually have to do that. I don't have to do this at all, but it's going to just help me later. I know from doing this before that this just really does help me quite a bit. So I'm going to scooch this out of the way. Let's just take a look at this and do our other one. So I'm just going to go, let's just start because I'm holding this pencil. Let's do these stars. We're going to go super quick on these though. Now that we got it all figured out. Star, star, star. I'm literally going to go through all 3 of them at once. This is actually kind of fun. This is kind of a relaxing part of it, and it's fun sewing them later, too, when they're all colored in like this. It's extra prep, but I'm telling you, it'll make me feel better later. Star, star, star. All right. I still have this pencil, so let's do the squiggle one. That's this one. Squiggle, squiggle, or squiggle fabric. The neat thing is that once I cut these out, which is what I'll do next, we can actually kind of lay it out on our table here to see kind of get a sense of what it might look like. So I'm kind of excited for that part. All right, we're done with this pencil. I'm gonna just put it back. The next pencil sitting around here is this one. So this is our light cream. So let's color in those bees here. All right. There, I'm just kind of like barely coloring them in. Just enough so I know what they are. All right, I don't think I need that pencil anymore. Next up was the solid in the middle. I'm going to make this one a little darker just because it won't blend into these as much. And we'll be able to see it a little bit better once we see what they all look like. All like together when we lay them out. So we do have these 4 sections, right? That are the same. So all of these 4 sections are the same. So in theory, we could do like all of these stars at the same time, and then all the ones next to it at the same time. That does actually speed things up. However, sometimes I like going through the whole process of one before doing the other ones, and then so that's probably what I'll do. I'll go through the process of one just because I can show you the process, and then we can do the other 3 all at once, like all together. We'll do these 3 like we're almost chain piecing them. But we'll do a set first. That'll be good for me too, just because I have not paper pieced in a while, so this will be a good kind of refresher for me too. It's kind of been a while since we've worked on the Splendid Sampler here. Kind of excited to be doing it again. All right, these are with the circles on it. I feel like I'll forget that if I don't draw the circles. So if you think you can remember, then you don't have to draw it in. I feel like I'll forget. Circle, 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 circle. Ugh, this is relaxing though. I like that I can be messy, it doesn't really matter. Alright, and last up, I'm like, oh, we forgot to color those, but those are white. Those are our white pieces, so they stay that color. It's just this little flowery area. The yellow with the flowers. There we are. We're done with the colored pencils. So there's all of our pieces all done. Next up, I'm going to cut all of these out. So let's grab a paper scissors. Are there several stars in this block? Yep. So here's the picture of the block again. So all of these little green corner pieces, those are going to be the ones with the stars. So this chunk right there is right there. So this is the actual size too. So the actual size of that is going to be like, you know, size of 2 knuckles, basically, just itty bitty. All right, so I'm going to cut this out with the seam allowance there. I'm going to just roughly cut the seam allowance. You don't need to be perfect at this stage of cutting. I'm going to just cut kind of where the seam allowance is suggested. Anytime we do this, it is going to be implied that we are going to have that seam allowance. This is just kind of a reminder to put it on. We're going to actually make our own at the perfect exact size that we need it, and therefore I can be a little bit rough on the cutting of this. I don't need to be perfectly on. It's more going to kind of help us, a reminder that we need to cut our fabric big enough to accommodate that seam allowance. So it's a good reminder. Oftentimes on other foundation paper piecing patterns, they won't have the seam allowance included at all, which is fine. You know, and I could pretend that it doesn't exist here. I would just cut right on the line here. And like I said, we would add it automatically through our process. I think there's quite a bit of is Steve asking or Colleen is asking if there's a lot of other stars in this book. There's definitely lots of star-esque blocks like this. I mean, they're all different, so every block is different. And I can't remember if there's any like blatant stars, like these 5-pointed stars, like what the fabric is. I can't remember if there's any just like obvious stars like that. But there is, you know, a lot that look like that. It's kind of like a starburst sort of thing. So I'm just going to go through all of these and trim them out. Like I said, I'm, you know, not paying too close attention to the seam allowance. I'm just going to kind of keep them together for now so it doesn't totally get confusing right away. So tonight I'm probably just going to do this prep work, and I'll kind of show you some of the tools that we'll be using this week on this. I am not positive we will get this done this week. This is a lot of pieces. I mean, oodles of pieces. Let's see, like there's 4, and 3. So there's 11 times 4. So there are 44 pieces in this 6-inch square. So 44 pieces in something this big. That can't be right, is it? 4, 8, 11 times 4. Yeah, there's 44 pieces in here. Now think of that, like our border for the granny square quilt had 44 pieces in the whole entire border, or 44 strips. This has 44 pieces in a 6-inch square. So we'll be, you know, and all those 44 pieces we need to like attend to, so this may take more than the couple hours we'll be working on it this week. But I'm telling you, this prep work, even though it's taken like a whole day for us, it's gonna make our world easier. Because just look at this already. I rearranged these up. How the heck are you gonna like easily? You're gonna have to keep looking back at this to like kind of figure out what's what. But now I can pick this up. I know exactly. Okay, we got the white. We got the star fabric. We got another white piece. So I mean, already I think. Hopefully I'm illustrating that it's worth it to do this little extra step, especially with like 44 pieces that you got to keep track of. Kind of amazing that you can get that many pieces into a little 6-inch square. It's kind of exciting. It'll be a neat challenge. And the cool thing about foundation paper piecing is that you can get this precision. Like, if you look at this block, and if you didn't know about foundation paper piecing, and you'd be like, well, how do I cut that triangle like that so it perfectly fits with this? Like, I don't understand. Like, how would I get that angle? How do I get this little Y seam to fit perfectly with the rest? Like, it's just mind-boggling, but it's all done with this foundation paper piecing technique, which I love. It's actually far easier and more relaxing than you think once you get going, and that's the surprise with it, the bonus surprise. We will definitely have accurate 1/4-inch seam allowances. That will be revealed for sure and make sense as we go here. Lisa, okay, I'm trying to read your comment. I've been watching videos on slow stitch inchies and twinchies. I don't know what that means. Cute, but what do you do with them? Anybody do this with stitchery? So do you mean like 1-inch pieces of fabric that people are just stitching together? Is that what you mean? I've never heard that before. Yep, exactly. Catherine says that's what makes foundation paper piecing so nice. You don't have to worry about a 1/4-inch. Oh yeah, yep. I to go with us coloring this in, I kind of always think of foundation paper piecing like coloring in the lines of a coloring book. So instead of having to worry about measuring all our 1/4-inch seam allowances perfect, like on all these other blocks, I just sew right along the line. I don't have to think about anything. I just sew along the line like I'm just, trying to stay in the line on a coloring book, kind of. I literally don't have to think. I'm just following a line. So that's fun. Then we have a special way to cut to get our 1/4-inch seam allowances. It's all a process, but once you get it, it's so fun and comforting and magical. I do really, really like this. We haven't done this in a while, so this will be fun. All right, I would love to see what this looks like kind of laid out. Since we have it all kind of colored in, we might actually be able to kind of get a glimpse of this with our colors. So I just kind of want to lay this out right here. You don't have to do this step. I just think it's kind of neat. So let's start with these. So this is going to be like a corner. All right. See, I'm already lost, right? Okay, the B piece. So the C and the B pieces go together. So there is a seam allowance here, so, you got to kind of imagine it without that. All right, and then this guy just goes right in the middle like this. So 1, 2, 3. All right, so let's just kind of repeat that. It's going to be a challenge for me. 1, 2. This is just for funsies. You definitely don't need to do this, but it is kind of neat to see. Actually, this would be a way, like if it's looking just like you don't like it, like your colors or whatever, if you've done the colors similar to your fabrics, this would be a time to see like, well, that yellow isn't really showing up, or something like that. You could change it still. You haven't sewn anything yet, so you're not locked in yet. But I'm already grabbing the wrong things, like I'm already confused. Imagine if there was no color on here and it was just all your lines still. Ugh. It'd be difficult, I think. All right, well, we do have a little bit here, and what I'm seeing right away, especially after us talking about the stars, because we're doing the yellows, kind of like these brighter, more yellowy things compared to our other fabrics, they're kind of shooting out the middle here, so we do kind of have this star effect with the yellow. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I think that'll be really kind of fun. So just to show you it next to here again, you can kind of start seeing it a little bit. I mean, obviously, you know, once we have the real fabrics, it'll be, you know, everything will pop a little bit more, I think. But the colored pencils, I think that does give us a little bit of an insight. And yeah, I'm interested about these pieces in particular because they kind of just stop, and these ones come out of it. I think it'll be fun. But we are going to have like this burst of yellow from the inside, so I'm stoked. That'll be fun. All right, you guys, I want to just kind of show you a few of... This is probably where we'll stop as far as the process goes today. This is a good stopping point, actually, being all prepped like this. But I do want to show you some of the tools we'll be using. So some tools you want for sure is you're going to want your rotary cutting mat, or your rotary cutter and your mat. So that'll be, you know, versus just doing this with the scissors. You could, but the rotary cutter and mat you'll want for sure. You're going to want some sort of postcard. You can use like a mailer, like junk mail really, but the idea is that you want a stiff surface, but that's, you know, has no edge to it really. So we're going to be folding paper on this. So this is going to be like our straight edge for folding paper. And so a postcard like this works great. Something longer, it has to be as long as, you know, all these lines are. So this is, you know, there's tons of pieces here. So something like this will work great. Again, a manila folder would work well for this. Yeah, so you'll want that. You'll want a ruler. We're going to use a special ruler for this. Now, you don't need one of these, but if you do a lot of foundation paper piecing, you are going to love, love, love this. So this is an add a quarter ruler. So it says, I don't know if you can read that. It says add a quarter. So what's special about this ruler is that it has a little lip on it that you can see. You can see it kind of jogged out a little bit. That lip is a 1/4 inch. So this is going to be great later because I could, with my eyes closed, just put this down against my fabric and know that I'm going to have a 1/4 inch. We're actually going to use our postcard, and you're going to bump it up against the postcard, and there's your 1/4 inch. You know, you don't have to even think about it. Zoop, there it is. So there's no like measuring. You know, it's so relaxing not to have a measure perfect things, you know, and sew a perfect 1/4 inch seam allowance. We're just sewing on the lines, and this gives us our 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so you don't actually need one of these. It seems so silly, like a quick way to do a 1/4 inch seam allowance, but it's so nice for foundation paper piecing. You can just use a normal ruler as well, just like your normal quilting ruler. So let's see, like, you know, you could just use one of these, right? And then you just have, like, you know, your 1/4 inch seam allowance. So you would just be lining up that 1/4 inch, you know, like that instead. So there's your 1/4 inch. Same difference. This is just so much nicer because you don't have to line anything up. It just goes on like boop, and it's there. So if you do have one of these, one of your add a quarter rulers, grab it. You will want that. Oh, so someone's asking about... Well, first of all, that's basically all you need. So the specialty tools really is just the postcard. Bonus points if you have the add a quarter ruler. And then your rotary cutter and your cutting mat. That's it, and your sewing machine. So that's all you'll need. So again, nothing too specialty, just that postcard. Someone's asking, how often am I going to be working on this? So we haven't been working on this for a while because the holidays kind of got in the way, but we'll be working on it regularly again the second full week of the whatever month we're in. So we're kind of in the second full week now. First week, and we'll send a newsletter out about this as well, but the first week will be the Granny Square Quilt. The second week will be Splendid Sampler 2, and that includes the making the blocks and also the free motion quilting. Anything related to the Splendid Sampler 2 will be the second week. The third week we'll be doing the Embroidery-of-the-month. So this month it will be this feller. Oh, there's actually two in the bundle. It's, this is my sewing machine here. This is like a portrait of my sewing machine, but then we have like the more standard like vintage sewing machine, like a Singer sewing machine. So we'll be stitching one or both of these the third week of the month, so next week. So there's still time to get the bundles too. And then the fourth week, last year it was the Aurifil block of the month. This year we're going to kind of keep it a free week. Sometimes we'll just be finishing up stuff. Other times I'll have something planned, and then some other times we'll have like some small little projects and stuff like that. Or maybe we'll just free motion quilt that whole week or something. So that'll be more of a free week, and I definitely will take suggestions for that. So let me know about that. So Jane, this is the Splendid Sampler 2, if you're wondering. So this is the Splendid Sampler 2. We'll be doing this every 2 weeks here. So all right, you guys, I'm going to flip you around. All right, so I know we're stopping a little bit early, but we are not going to want to start the full foundation paper piecing process right now with a few minutes left. We'll start fresh with all our items, our supplies here. Our pieces are prepped. We're ready to go. I mean, look how small these are. This gives you a sense at these pieces. 44 pieces in this block, you guys. That's a lot. It's going to be fun, though. I really hope you give this a try. I mean, this is like I said, there's 44 pieces in this one. But whether it's like 6 pieces or 44 pieces, the process is the exact same. So I hope you give it a try, and I hope you love it as much as I love it after we go through it. It is kind of a mind bender at first, but I'm telling you, once you get going, it will be really relaxing. I am totally open to questions if something's confusing you as we go along. Feel free to ask in the comments and stuff. So I want to make sure that you know how to do it by the time we're done this week. And I don't know if we'll finish it, but we'll get a ways. We'll for sure finish up like one section of all 3, the ABC groupings. We'll finish at least one sewn together thing of that before moving on. So awesome, you guys! Thank you so much. Sylvia says I may pull out one to do. Oh, Catherine got her embroidery bundle today. Yay, that's awesome. Yeah, so we'll be shipping those tomorrow and Wednesday still. So, yeah, for sure, in theory, they should get to you before we start them on Monday still. Oh, Grace is saying take a picture of the layout. That's a good idea. Before I shift this too much, it's good to take a photo of it. That just another reminder of where these pieces go. If these all fall on the floor, it'll be a nice reference if the fan goes on or something like that. All right, so awesome, you guys. Thanks again, and I'm reading your questions, and I will continue to read them tomorrow if you have any questions as we go. So I will see you tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Central Time here, either on YouTube or Facebook. Penguin and Fish Movies on YouTube, and the Penguin and Fish page or group on Facebook. So have a great evening. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.